Has the sport finally gotten to the time for the PDGA to address its ratings issue? MVP Open brings battles for championship positioning, Rick plays through an ankle injury, even more rumored layoffs coming out of House of Discs, and even a little bit more this week in disc golf. What's good, Discgenerates? It's the one with all the holes in his game who also refuses to use his government name, Swiss Cheese. Or if you'd rather, the old half of the disc golf world, which most of you should know us by now. And that's because we're that one disc golf YouTube channel that decided to flip the coverage of our sport on its head by providing the hardest and fastest hitting scripted coverage out there. Sure, we're not really meant to be listened to on the way to work, but instead burn through to get your ass back to the course. And you guys are watching This Week in Disc Golf, where we cover all things disc golf from the past week. Even the PDGA ratings, though most of you may not want to hear it. And this really isn't a hit piece or a Brody-style rant on its flawed structure, lack of accuracy, or how bad and meaningless they are. You guys can get that on the other side of the dial. Instead, this is more about the sport's modern trends and the PDGA ratings impacting them. That, if you ask me, just might warrant a needed change. Since the ratings creation in 1998 by Chuck Kennedy and Roger Black, along with its full implementation back in 2003, the PDGA ratings has become a benchmark for players and pros alike. And for all purposes' sake, though it has been heavily criticized, funny enough, right around every update, its purpose and reason for its creation has been an absolute success. You see, the rating system was not designed to capture the greatest accuracy on a player's skill, or a round for that matter, like some next-gen stat. Instead, its resolve was to broadly separate players into groups of similar abilities and skills. And ultimately, a method to prevent sandbagging to create a more fair experience for every player, across every division. When looked through that lens, it's difficult not to say the PDGA ratings has accomplished exactly that, even 20 plus years after its creation. Though with the sport's latest shift in participation that seems to have moved away from multi-round or day events to sanctioned leagues and single-round flex starts, it just might be time for the PDGA to pivot on its structure. Disc golf has always been driven by its community efforts. Leagues and flex starts, for that matter, help continue to grow the sport at a grassroots level, and much needed for the growth of our sport. It allows a more engaging format and a less structured and comfortable style when compared to larger events, while providing less daunting pressure for new players to enter, and often players' first event that has a rating attached. The issue being is that the current rating structure allows the smaller fields at these specific events to be far more heavily punished with lower ratings, despite being held on similar tracks of larger tournaments, resulting in players whose rating is important to them far more likely to forego sanctioned leagues altogether, highlighted further with the recent post through this community, which in turn ultimately hits the PDGA pocketbook, becoming the most important reason for the PDGA to change its rating structure in the face of the sport's growing trends, or continue to be financially impacted by it. And though this topic may not be as pressing as other issues in some eyes, or the PDGA board for that matter, this already impacts the vast majority of its members, whose revision or restructure would overwhelmingly be welcomed while also getting ahead of where our sport's moving towards. Do I see a change upcoming? Absolutely not. Should there be one? Yes. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. The MVP Open and the final playoff event is underway, which is far more than Maple Hill, Dodgers Blazers, missing R's during the fan celebrations, pond dives, and the antics of the 8 holes. As this last playoff event of the season becomes the final opportunity for players to earn their position in the DGPT Championship. As the latest playoff event of the season becomes the final opportunity for players to earn their position in the DGPT Championship. A payday that for most players attending is their largest on the season. So as much as media, including this guy, drops joke about the finale's attendance or viewership, it is important for the players in attendance. So instead of wasting time debating structure, let's highlight some of the races you as a viewer can follow along outside the ones battling for the top of the podium at MVP Open. And fortunately for you Never Live guys, without a DGPT subscription, can be followed along relatively live over at Statmando. So follow along as the current structure allows for even more players the chance to earn a spot in the finale. Currently, the top 28 MPO and 18 FPO players in the world rankings earn a spot into the DGPT Championship. The tour's new additional twist of wildcards this year adds even more storylines and possible players involved, as the top 4 finishers in MPO and 2 for the FPO at MVP, who currently find themselves outside the rankings, earn an invite also. And in all honesty, it's about as difficult to follow along as it is for some to pronounce acetaminophen. I guess it's easier to just say Tylenol, which just might be the reason for our titles. Thanks, Mom. FPO's final spot at the 18 seed currently being battled out among Madison Walker and Emily Weatherman, and currently just behind Jessica Gerthy, or Weiss on Statmando. After a very tough round one for Weatherman, Madison has a firm grasp at this moment. As for the wildcard position, Haley King, sitting in second place heading to day 2, looks as though she'll land one of those spots, and she could shake up that field there while she's at it. Despite a limited tour, no major disc golf manufacturer sponsorship, and many actively rooting against her, has finished in the top 10, including a podium at all 7 of her Elite Series events this year. The final wildcard is a battle among Rachel Turton, Chantel Budinsky, Katie Asalu, among many others on a track that will see plenty of fluctuating scores. And we can't sleep on Taylor Chosick, Sophia Donica, Eliezra Midling, and Raven Klein either, who took 10th here last year. Jake Mon was holding down the final seed heading into Maple Hill for the MPO. Impressive, considering he's been out there throwing with a broken wrist, but has plenty vying for position, including Matty O, Mari Villman, and Robert Burridge, even though Villman has already stated he will not be attending the event. Joey Buckets was there, but after a poor round one also, looks as though his season will come to an end early. As for the wildcard race, shocking most, Nathan Queen, former championship winner mind you, finished the opening day with a hot round and atop the lead card, also giving him the top spot currently in the wildcard race. And that's despite being the lowest ranked player on there. But that remaining wildcard race contains some promising European talents in Nestori Tukanen, distance thrower everyone should know by now Rasmus Sakaripi, and Lori Leitinen. Thunder buddies Noah Mensma and Gavin Rathbun are only a stroke behind them and 3 days remaining. Battle and pressure will most certainly ramp up and involve far more names also. Moving on, let's discuss Ricky Wysocki and his ankle injury. Some might expect the DGPT Championship points race just might be the factor behind Ricky Wysocki's participation at MVP. Ricky made public this week that he's dealing with yet another injury on the season, this one being a grade 2 ankle sprain that had his ankle the size of a racquetball. Though this might be less about the points race and just the fact that Ricky's a gamer, as his position and advantage in the championship is unlikely to change too greatly with the participation or not. At inclement weather and in unstable ground conditions, many are asking themselves why not rest till USDGC for the final upcoming major. But with an active win streak and current record holders and looming like MVP fog, might be more of a reason for his participation than those DGPT points. Now, let's move into some college disc golf news. And before I do, I want to highlight a recent follow of mine, College Disc Golf News, who might be new, but still a must-follow channel, who has already slipped in there, filling a gap that is missing in our sport by covering the collegiate side of the game, which is ripe with their own storylines, drama, and some of disc golf's promising future stars. So make sure to go check them out and subscribe over on YouTube and Instagram, as the college season and their qualifiers are underway, including 3 this past weekend. One of which that saw Calvin University edge out Michigan State at the Great Lakes Collegiate Clash. Calvin erased a 2-stroke lead by MSU with a 16-under final team round. That round was so good it gave Calvin a 3-stroke victory. The Appalachian Collegiate Invitational saw both Milliken squads take the top 2 spots, as both were the only 2 teams to finish below par, resulting in Zach Melton being one proud papa, while the Rocky Mountain opener had a blowout victory by BYU, as they shook up the scoreboard like the beds on campus with a 10-stroke lead over Utah State. Outside of the coverage of events and some sad news, sources of ours have notified us of even more firings coming out of House of Discs, who has had a tumultuous year to say the least. As terminations began this time last year and made public through YouTube posts, there are former employee AMAs, poor financial reporting, Discmania warehouse shakeups, and the resignations of not 1 but 2 senior leaders at Discmania just 4 months ago. All of which never made public by House of Disc or the equity leadership for that matter either. And we've been sitting on this news for over a week now, scouring socials for any hint of validation. Our sources have informed us of 18 total terminations. Though limited with evidence, with these former employees making few public statements, the dropping of the 2025 Hand-Eye Classic just might be the smoking gun that's needed. The event can no longer be found on Disc Golf Scene, which was initially scheduled to be held at Emporia this year. Hand-eye creator and dynamic disc promoter team member Crispin Carrasco was listed as one of the names to be part of the latest layoffs. It's certainly odd that this namestay event has been wiped from the books. Hand-eye is best known for its disc golf apparel and designs and was created back in 2008 and has been a mainstay in the dynamic lineup since. Currently, Crispin and Hand-eye products are still on the dynamic page, but we'll keep our eyes peeled and our ears to the ground for more news. And guys, that really wraps up this week in disc golf. Shout out to those of you on the Patreon and all of you who have stayed this long for me to thank. And like always, if you've enjoyed and not subscribed, make sure to do so. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, comment, and share.